Hello everyone and welcome to another very unseasonably warm day here in Michigan. I am very excited to be out here today taking advantage of that unseasonably warm weather. Today we're going to be doing something very exciting, but before we get started I wanted to remind you all that this episode was brought to you ad-free for 30 days by MIgardener.com. It is extremely important that you go check it out because we got a ton of cool stuff over there, like heirloom seeds, over 200 varieties. We got plant care stuff, we got fertilizer, free blog posts for you to look at, pictures, and even every single video we've ever uploaded. So go check it out. It's worth checking out, and hopefully you'll enjoy it over there as well. All right, so on today's episode, we're going to talk about the importance of feeding the soil through winter. It is something that I think is one of the most important. If you had a list of like your top 10 things, up in the top maybe 3 or 4 would be feeding the soil through winter. It is so crucial and so important because even though your plants might be dead, beneath the soil line, beneath the, the top of the soil, there are thousands and thousands and billions and trillions of microbes and fungi that feed the plants during the growing season. And they live in a part of the soil called the rhizosphere. It's a big term. Just note that that rhizosphere is about the top 4 inches of soil. And in that rhizosphere are trillions and billions, billions and trillions of beneficial bacteria and fungi that are essential for plant life. And so often as gardeners, we neglect to feed them over the winter because they require food just like you and I do, just like your plants do. And without them, your garden will be in a very bad state next year. And the soil has actually been depleted of so much throughout the growing season. And then to give them basically nothing throughout the winter, you're giving them essentially 4 months with absolutely nothing to feed off of. So it's very important to give them something. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing that right now, and it's very simple. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's not something that you need to overcomplicate, but it is something that is very essential to having a successful garden next growing season. So come on in close and let's get that done. So what I'm going to be remineralizing my soil with is Trifecta Plus. The reason is because it has a lot of the stuff that everyone focuses on, but it has some essential stuff here, and you can actually see the ingredients. You can check them out at MIgardener.com/store. You can check it out for yourself. What this has in it is it actually has a lot of things that the beneficial microbes and fungi require. It has humic acid, which is huge for growing and colonizing those microbes. And then it has trace minerals like azomite and green sand. And then it also has stuff like basically dehydrated molasses. That's a sugar source for the microbes to feed off of. And it has blood meal, and it has kelp, and it has a lot of different forms of food for them to feed on. So you don't just have a N, P, and K. That is great. But what they are really needing throughout the growing season are those sugars and those carbohydrate sources that is going to keep them active. They don't necessarily need this as much. Your plants need a lot of this. What they need is a lot of organic material like the humic acid, the alfalfa meal, the poultry manure, the feather meal, the blood meal, the green sand, the bone meal, the azomite, and the dehydrated molasses. Those are huge components to keeping your microbes alive. So that's why I'm using this, because it's kind of an all-in-one, and I recommend you do something similar. You can source the ingredients separately, or you can use something like Trifecta or something similar that has those ingredients in it. And all we're going to do is we're just going to put it into the top 3 or 4 inches of soil, into that rhizosphere, because you don't want to go any lower than that, because there's not as much bacteria and fungi down there to actually take in the stuff. We're going to put a liberal amount. This will also help the soil be remineralized for spring, because the microbes won't go through it all. But in this probably 6 square feet, maybe 8 square feet, I'm going to put probably about 1.5 pounds. And that way I know there's enough. And remember, anything left over is only extra for your plants. So it's not going to be wasted. So I put about 1.5 pounds in there. And then all we're going to do is we're going to gently turn. We're just going to gently turn it, because you don't want to disrupt the rhizosphere too much. You don't want to disrupt all those microbes and fungi. You just want to make sure that the stuff that you're putting into your soil is going to come in contact and actually be in the soil, not just sitting on the surface where it can get washed away by rain and snow and depleted in that way. All right, and it is literally as simple as that. Now, all you have to do is make sure that you don't touch it for springtime. The less touching of the soil, the better, because it's going to make sure that none of those microbes freeze on top of the soil, and none of the microbes are going to die from the sun beating on them, and they're going to be down there in their nice cozy bed for the winter, and they're going to be ready for spring. All right, it looks like the sun's coming out, so I'm actually going to go enjoy some more sunlight. But hopefully you all enjoyed this video. I highly recommend checking out Trifecta. It is something that I have been using for years, and I cannot speak highly enough about it. It is a great product for all times of the year, for remineralizing the beds, to feeding your plants in the spring, to feeding your perennials in the fall. It is something that anything can benefit from. So go check that out. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments box below if you remineralized your beds, because I'd be curious to see how many people did it versus how many people were inspired to do it. So I can kind of gauge just how many people are out there doing what needs to be done. And don't feel bad though. Don't feel bad if you haven't. Don't feel bad if you forgot. Don't feel bad if it's too late, if it's covered with snow. Just remember for next year, it's no big deal. We all make mistakes, and heck, I can even vouch for the fact that I did not remineralize my soil for probably, I'd say, 3 years. And once I realized it, and once I started doing it, the results spoke for themselves, and I've been doing it ever since. So hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully you all are growing big or going home, and I'll talk to you all later. See ya.